In the headlines for this hour on VTV News, Prime Minister requests Ho Chi Minh City to implement Sikh pioneers. In Vietnam, spice industry boosts export value. In our news, Lebanon builds war contingency plan.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Hello, it's 3 p.m. local time in Hanoi. You're watching VTV News. On Saturday morning in Ho Chi Minh City, Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính chaired two important conferences: the Working Conference on Socio-Economic Results and Implementation of Resolution 98 of the National Assembly and the fourth conference of the Southeast Regional Coordination Council. The Prime Minister praised the party committee, government, and peoples of the city for their efforts in achieving positive results and for their proactive approach in implementing Resolution 98 with ministries and branches. The Prime Minister requested that Ho Chi Minh City, along with ministries and branches, effectively implement the Sikh pioneers to meet set goals and tasks, aiming for a growth rate of 7.5 to 8% this year. Later, while chairing the fourth conference of the Southeast Regional Coordination Council, Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính called on provinces and cities in the region to review their 2024 goals and targets, swiftly deploy planning work, and identify legal bottlenecks to propose necessary amendments to competent authorities. On Saturday morning, National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn attended a conference to announce the resolutions of the National Assembly Standing Committee on the rearrangement of district and commune-level administrative units for the 2023-2025 period in Nam Định Province. This is one of the first three localities in the country to implement the administrative arrangement. From September 1st, Nam Định will have 9 districts and 175 communes, a reduction of 52 units. National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn commended the efforts, praising the high determination and methodological actions that have garnered this public support. The National Assembly Chairman also noted that consolidating the organizational structure in the rearranged locality should align with preparation for congresses at all levels, ensuring the protections of people's and businesses' legitimate rights and interests. After more than a year of implementing the Prime Minister's directive on promoting data connection and sharing of e-commerce development, prevent tax losses, and ensuring monetary security, ministries and branches have built their own initial databases to connect and prevent budget losses. More to follow.
Mobile numbers, bank accounts, citizen identification cards, and tax codes are key pieces of information used by the tax authority to identify e-commerce sellers. Many sellers have proactively declared and paid taxes to avoid legal prosecution.
I see that all sales information on e-commerce platforms, including revenue and quantity, are sent to the tax department. I think paying taxes is necessary.
Using its established internal database, the tax authority shares collected data with other agencies to create a comprehensive database to identify all enterprises, organizations, and individuals conducting business on e-commerce platforms. To date, the Ministry of Industry and Trade has provided the Ministry of Finance with information on 929 e-commerce platforms and 284 websites. The Ministry of Information and Communications has shared data on 130 telecommunications, radio, and television advertising units. Meanwhile, the General Department of Taxation is coordinating with the Ministry of Public Security to use citizen identification numbers as tax codes.
Thanks to the very good coordination between ministries and branches, as well as the efforts in tax management for e-commerce activities, organizations and individuals have been voluntarily declaring their taxes.
As the state management agency for e-commerce, the Ministry of Industry and Trade is finalizing the infrastructure for a shared database of enterprises, organizations, and individuals engaged in e-commerce.
Information about e-commerce businesses registered in the Ministry of Industry and Trade's database will be shared with the General Department of Taxation and local tax departments. This aims to closely monitor and manage these entities.
Through data sharing among relevant ministries and sectors, the tax sector now monitors over 8 billion e-commerce transactions, effectively preventing revenue loss in this field.
In the first 7 months of this year, Ho Chi Minh City granted new establishment licenses to 30,000 enterprises, an increase of 8.4% over the same period last year. Despite numerous economic challenges, this influx of new businesses is a positive signal for the city, especially as companies prepare for the year-end peak production period. According to experts, in addition to the government support policies on lowering lending interest rate and reducing and deferring taxes, Ho Chi Minh City Resolution 98 on special mechanisms has removed difficulties for enterprises. At the same time, Ho Chi Minh City also promotes public investment with a focus on building transport infrastructure and implements numerous policies to boost consumer demand. The pepper industry has an opportunity to increase its export value as global demand rises. It presents a chance for Vietnamese enterprises, but also challenges them to improve quality and focus on preliminary processing to meet market demands. The main export market for Vietnamese spices include the United States, European Union, India, and China.
This factory produces 30 to 40 tons of finished pepper daily. Annually, they export 7 to 10,000 tons of pepper to the US, EU, Middle East, and many other countries. The company meticulously checks quality to ensure cleanliness, with zero tolerance for pesticide residue.
We guide farmers directly, from planting to producing clean products. We then bring these products to the factory for processing and steam sterilization. This ensures the products meet the standards for export to major markets.
Partnering with farmers to promote green production, alongside investments in advanced technology and machinery, is boosting the export value of pepper and strengthening Vietnam's spice industry overall. This strategy effectively meets the rising demand from importers.
When importing goods, we care about two key factors: quality and price. Quality must comply with EU standards, including food safety and hygiene, as well as environmental, social, and sustainability requirements. I see that Vietnamese farmers are meeting these standards quite well.
We have to maintain sustainable production to export to countries such as those in the EU. The Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, the Pepper Association, and businesses must take action to comply with the new regulations.
Vietnam dominates the global pepper market, accounting for over 40% of world production and 60% of exports. However, most of this spice is exported raw. To further boost export value, Vietnamese enterprises should invest in advanced processing techniques that align with market demands.
Environmental protection and climate change response programs and projects will be supported with preferential loans at a 2.6% interest rate. The lending support unit is the Vietnam Environmental Protection Fund. Investment projects that are preferentially funded and supported with interest rate are in the sectors and fields of waste collection, treatment, recycling, or reuse. Enterprises that produce and provide technology, equipment, products, and services to meet environmental protection requirements are also eligible. The fixed interest rate is 2.6% throughout the loan period, which is medium to long term but not exceeding 10 years. The maximum loan amount is 80% of the total investment, capped at $1.4 million per project and $2.9 million per investor. Coming up next on VTV News. Vietnam intensified efforts to support Agent Orange victims. And Hanoi's creative spaces nurture art and culture. As of now, the eucalyptus forest fire in Quang Dong Commune, Quang Trạch District, Quang Binh Province is largely under control. The blaze discovered at noon on Friday originated in the community-managed eucalyptus forest in Minh Xuân village before spreading to nearby pine and natural forest areas. Local authorities swiftly mobilized nearly 200 personnel from the military, police, and forest ranger services to combat the fire. By Friday afternoon, they had contained several large fires. However, small fires atop a 100-meter hill pose challenges to extinguish effort. The fire was finally brought under control by 10 a.m. on Saturday. Functional forces remain on site to prevent reignition. Initial assessment indicate damage to over 5 hectares of production forest and the destruction of 6 motorbikes. During the Vietnam War, approximately 4.8 million Vietnamese were exposed to toxic chemicals, with about 3 million becoming victims. The country has designated August 10th as the annual day for Vietnamese Agent Orange or dioxide victims. This year's theme focuses on brightening the future for dioxin's victims. Numerous practical actions are being taken to alleviate the suffering of those still affected by the war's impact.
No fear of sacrifices during the war. All pain and tragedy can be borne alone. These are the words a former youth volunteer repeats to herself as she endures the pain from her injuries. But she is not alone. Her comrades are always by her side. Last year, local authorities built a house for her with contributions from charitable enterprises.
We have built homes for over 50 victims living in difficult conditions, providing them with $2,000 to $3,000 to construct more decent houses.
Across the country, care centers for Agent Orange victims have received substantial support from various organizations. Over the past 5 years, the Ministry of Defense and the U.S. Agency for International Development have collaborated to enhance the lives of Agent Orange victims in 8 heavily affected provinces: Quảng Trị, Thừa Thiên Huế, Quảng Nam, Bình Định, Con Tum, Bình Phước, Đồng Nai, and Tây Ninh. This cooperation is set to expand to 3 additional provinces: Cà Mau, Bạc Liêu, and Quảng Ngãi.
We are mobilizing resources to help victims rise out of poverty, secure livelihoods, and receive medical treatment. Even a small contribution of 1,000 VND can add up, giving victims hope for a better life.
Many challenges such as limited resources, equipment, and facilities hinder support for these victims. Therefore, more focused allocation of social resources is crucial to helping Agent Orange soldiers and their descendants overcome adversity.
100 houses were officially handed over to poor households in Hiệp Đức District, Quảng Nam Province on Friday, providing much-needed relief to those facing housing difficulties. These homes were built with a total support fund of over $525,000. Of this amount, over $278,000 were donated by local families and the community. With this effort, Hiệp Đức District is now focused on eliminating the remaining 13 temporary houses with the goals of having no temporary housing by mid-next year. Preventing illegal, unreported, and unregulated IUU fishing in foreign water is one of the biggest concerns for coastal localities. This is a crucial requirement for Vietnam to lift the yellow card, Specifically in Quảng Ngãi, the authority drastic measures have changed fishermen perceptions. Saying no to IUU fishing has become a deeply ingrained practice for many.
About 10 years ago, pressured by a fellow fisherman, this man took his boat thousands of nautical miles into the waters of a Pacific island nation in search for sea cucumbers. However, before making a major catch, local law enforcement apprehended his vessel. Although he narrowly escaped arrest, his boat was photographed for illegal entering foreign waters. Upon his return, this evidence cost him support policies and fishing rights for 2 years.
When I left, I just hoped to bring back some money. But it was also hard to know if I'd survive the trip back, because the sea out there is rough.
This fisherman's experience became an example of the consequences of breaking the law and violating foreign waters. Now most fishermen in Quảng Ngãi province adhere to regulations against IUU fishing.
We fishermen abide by Vietnam's maritime regulations. We don't violate foreign waters.
Since the beginning of 2024, the province has significantly reduced violations by tightening fleet management measures.
If the unit spots a vessel crossing the boundary, a warning is immediately sent to the boat owner and captain to return to Vietnam's waters. If they don't answer, it is logged into the monitoring system as evidence for violations.
Intentional violations must be handled with the highest, strictest penalties. No leniency is allowed. All punishments must be public and transparent, and serve as a warning to other boat owners and crew members.
Fishing vessel data is updated to the National Fisheries Database. Currently, Quảng Ngãi has 4,331 registered fishing boats. The province remains steadfast in its shared goal of lifting the yellow card on Vietnam's seafood this year.
The food production industry accounts for approximately 34% of global greenhouse gas emissions, equivalent to over 15 billion tons of carbon dioxide. The growing trend toward green living and consumption poses a new challenge for Vietnam's food and beverage companies. They must swiftly reduce their gas emissions to remain competitive.
This factory is implementing emission reduction strategies, aiming for carbon neutrality. They're utilizing solar energy, natural gas boilers, and efficient packaging processes, among other methods. However, the main challenge lies in the lack of emission reduction certifications from their suppliers.
The company has to choose packaging or material suppliers that provide us with products with lower emission indexes.
Agriculture contributes about 30% of Vietnam's total greenhouse gas emissions. As such, this sector must conduct a comprehensive greenhouse gas inventory. This effort requires involvement from the entire supply chain.
Each business, factory, and production unit in the food industry must have its own team of experts to conduct an initial greenhouse gas inventory and then develop their own roadmap for emission reductions.
The Ministry of Industry and Trade is also implementing many practical solutions to support the food industry ecosystem. Green and sustainable products were spotlighted at the recent Viet Food Exhibition 2024.
Through these sessions, enterprises can exchange, trade, and learn from each other. From there, Vietnamese units can plan future policies towards green production based on global consumption trends.
Opportunities have opened up for domestic food companies. The exhibition has attracted 1,200 booths from 900 companies and units from over 20 countries and territories.
Hanoi boasts the highest number of creative spaces in Vietnam, and these venues offer the community more opportunities to experience culture and artistic activities while providing artists with places to practice and collaborate. These spaces also contribute to the capital's unique identity and appeal, creating jobs and fostering the growth of creative industries.
What to do in Hanoi in 24 hours. This is a trend on social networks that shows young people's enthusiasm for exploring Hanoi's creative spaces and art events. In recent years, Hanoi has become a city rich with creative and artistic venues that draw inspiration from its cultural heritage.
Young people are very flexible and want to discover new things. These spaces are opportunities for us to experience creativity.
This may be my first time experiencing such a unique blend of modern and nostalgic elements in Hanoi.
According to the Hanoi Department of Culture and Sports, the city currently has more than 120 creative spaces, operating in a variety of fields and playing a vital role in connecting artists, creators, and the community. Many spaces have become venues for international art events.
Since 2023, we have been collaborating with Hoan Kiem District to introduce artist creations to international organizers in the region. At the same time, we introduce people to cultural and heritage spaces.
Since joining the UNESCO Creative Cities Network, Hanoi has implemented numerous policies to support the development of creative spaces. As a result, there are now over 120 creative spaces in the city, with more than 80 owned by private enterprises or individuals.
We've received a lot of support from the government, especially the Hanoi People's Committee and the Hanoi Department of Culture. First, the cost of the premises is supported. Second, we receive legal support for community projects.
I have seen Hanoi become a city in the UNESCO Creative Network. This shows that Hanoi has creative resources and has proven its capacity to UNESCO.
Creative spaces not only enrich Hanoi's cultural landscape, but also bring vitality to the city.
Coming up next in our war news, Lebanon builds war contingency plan. And UN warns of IS rising. The Lebanese government is developing an emergency contingency plan for all out war. In a worst-case scenario, 1 million people could be displaced, and Lebanon would need $307 million for 3 months to keep vital sectors running. In the most likely scenario, which is a controlled conflict, 250,000 people would still be displaced, and the country would need $146 million for 3 months. Most vital sectors in Lebanon, including shelter, fuel, food, and water, are currently short of emergency funding. The war contingency plan comes amid escalated tensions between Hezbollah and Israel and the ongoing conflict in Gaza. All 61 people on board a commercial plane that crashed in the suburb of Sao Paulo, Brazil, were killed. The plane black boxes have been found and will be sent to Brasilia for analysis. The plane was a ATR-72 operated by Voapass. According to the airline's representative, the plane had been inspected the day before takeoff and no technical problems were found. Weather forecasts also show ice at the altitude the plane was flying at, but within acceptable limits. According to Brazilian aviation officials, the black boxes were intact and it was too early to determine the cause of the tragedy. Notably, there was no emergency announcement from the pilots, and flight tracking data revealed the plane lost 5,000 meters in just 1 minute. The UN has warned of the strong right of the self-proclaimed Islamic State IS and the risk that some areas in Africa, even in Europe, could fall under the control of IS. According to the UN, terrorist groups linked to IS have expanded their activities in Africa, Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan, demonstrating resilience and adaptability in the face of global counter-terrorism efforts. A large area stretching from northern Nigeria to Mali may be under the control of these groups. IS branches in Mozambique, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Somalia have also become stronger, causing many civilian casualties. The UN stressed that the rise of IS could pose a greater risk to Europe, as exemplified by the terrorist attack on the Crocus Theater in the suburb of Moscow, Russia, in March this year. On Thursday, the Japan Meteorological Agency issued a warning that the risk of a mega earthquake is rising and could occur within a week. This alert came just hours after a 7.1 magnitude earthquake shook southwestern Japan off the coast of Miyazaki Prefecture. More to follow.
An emergency meeting of Japanese geologists was held following a 7.1 magnitude earthquake off the coast of Miyazaki Prefecture. The Japan Meteorological Agency has recommended that 707 cities and towns in 29 prefectures from Ibaraki Prefecture to Okinawa Prefecture be placed on alert for earthquakes of magnitude 6 or higher, with potential tsunamis up to 3 meters high. According to geologists, Japan is one of the most seismically active countries in the world. Its location on the boundary of 4 tectonic plates means earthquakes can occur at any time.
Define it a bit more, and that's moving towards Eurasia, of which mainland Japan is a part, at about 6 centimeters per year, and the ocean plate dives back into the Earth's interior, into the Earth's mantle. And that 6 centimeters per year, it doesn't move smoothly.
It is estimated that Japan experiences about 2,000 earthquakes each year. Earthquakes and tsunami warnings are no longer unfamiliar to the Japanese people. Disaster prevention drills are held regularly, helping people be ready to respond to situations.
Sirens went off. In 5 minutes, everyone was gone. I mean, it was phenomenal to watch. Everyone heeded the warning. No sort of rushed panic or anything. Everyone knew what to do.
Japanese Prime Minister Kishida Fumio has cancelled his visit to Central Asia to focus on directing the response to the risk of a major earthquake in the coming week. Forecasts suggest that if a mega earthquake occurs, strong tremors could affect a wide area from Kanto to Kyushu, with high tsunamis potentially appearing along the Pacific coast from Kanto to Okinawa.
And now let's continue with the weather forecast. That's all the news for today. To rewatch our program, you can log on to VTVgo.vn or download our mobile application VTVgo. Thanks for watching and goodbye for now.